This is the newly redesigned BMW X2 xDrive28i. Does this coupe-styled compact crossover make any sense? Well, we're going to check out all the features, take it for a drive, and then put it to the test. That's coming up right now on Driving Sports TV. Compact crossovers are extremely popular here in North America. For Hyundai, Honda, Subaru, and Toyota, this category represents some of their best-selling models. So it's probably no surprise that even luxury car makers are interested in carving out a section of the market for themselves by offering crossovers with more features, tech, power, and style than the competition. This is the 2024 BMW X2 xDrive28i. It is essentially a sportier and sleeker version of BMW's boxy X1. For this second generation X2, BMW has made it look a bit more aggressive, and they've also upgraded some of the tech to help set it apart from lower cost options and improve its appeal with younger buyers. There are two trim levels available with the X2. The top end M35i with a high output Turbo 4 producing 312 horsepower, and what we have here, the base xDrive28i. This car has a similar Turbo 4, but here it only produces a peak 241 horsepower and 295 pound-feet of torque. All trims do come standard with a 7-speed dual-clutch automatic transmission and all-wheel drive. The price of this xDrive28i is a very reasonable $42,000, but like all BMWs, it's options and packages that really make the vehicle. And this one, it's loaded with them. There's the Driving Assistance Pro package with active driving and traffic jam assist. That is an extra $1,700. The M Sport package, which upgrades to unique 19-inch M double-spoke wheels wrapped in Michelin Pilot Sport tires, adaptive suspension, sport seats, and M badges throughout. That is an extra $2,500. Then there's the Premium package, which adds the panorama skyroof, Harman Kardon sound, wireless charging, heads-up display, and digital key, as well as some other niceties. That is $4,000. Then you have to pay for the heated seats. It's $550 on this 2024 model, but do note that they are standard on 2025's version of this car. That's basically the only change. Finally, there's remote start for an extra $300, and of course, a destination fee of $995. Price as you see it here, $52,195 US. That price, incidentally, is about the same starting price as the upper trim M35i. Of course, you do lack some of the amenities that this one is loaded with, so I guess you're going to start at this price with the M35i and just go up from there. So you kind of have to pick and choose. Do you want the options? Do you want the base features? Personally, for a BMW, I would want a higher output motor because BMW is about the driving experience, man. It's not about wireless Apple CarPlay. Although I guess that comes standard, so. Okay, it's not about, panorama sunroofs. Even though this is a coupe-like design, BMW did a great job making it actually useful. The cargo area in the back is reasonably large for a vehicle of this size, with a fold down into the second row for larger items. Under the floor, you get a real space-saver spare. The second row does have plenty of space for a full-size adult. I am 6'1", legs torso proportionate, and I have room for my legs and my head. There are also vents and USB-C power sockets in easy reach. Up front, BMW has improved on materials, design, and tech versus the outgoing model. This is the aluminum crosshatch design, which is just one of 4 dash trims. The seats are red-black bicolor perforated synthetic, which is just one of 6 available upholstery packages. Overall, this particular combo is a striking design that would easily win over some buyers. Everything just feels really good to the touch, from the steering wheel to the little metal piece on the transmission selector. Even the dash is soft touch, which I really like. The paddles are a bit plasticky, but that's not unusual in the class. That said, the door pulls are metal and they feel great. I especially love what BMW has been doing with their digital gauge clusters. There are several layouts and they're all quite different, but they all contain a wealth of information about the status of the vehicle. The same goes for the heads-up display. though I'm not really as excited about that as I am kind of ambivalent about HUDs in general. And this one, it does show RPM speeds and signage, as well as maps, but other than that, it just doesn't really do anything special. And on the infotainment screen, it's actually running the latest BMW iDrive 9 software. I am okay with losing the knob, but the layout here can be a bit confusing. And it's not really the visual design that's the problem, because it actually looks quite good and it does visually make sense. It's when you get to options where things kind of fall apart. For example, right here there's a button with car and 3 lines next to it. So yeah, that's probably vehicle settings, and boom, there we go. On the left, I'd get driver assistance options. On the right, I have drivetrain and chassis. However, it doesn't all make a lot of sense, because when I hit a button here, like say deactivate auto start stop once. Okay, I hit it. Well, nothing changed. It just now says activate auto start stop. So by hitting that, did I activate it? Or by hitting that, did I deactivate it? Is it prompting me for what it will do, or is it prompting me for what it has done? It's not entirely clear. Now, if you think about it, yeah, you'll figure it out. But it is a little confusing. And on a car, you want to be able to like be driving, see something, hit it, and not think twice about it. You want to know that what you picked is what you get. And then there's this, activate drive off support once. Okay, I've clicked that. Now it says deactivate. Well, did I just activate it? Well, there's a little tire over here, so I'm guessing maybe I activated it. But what is drive off support? I think it's the actual off-road trail mode. But why is it called drive off support? That doesn't even make any sense. Just some weird choices that really are confusing when there's no reason for them to be confusing. I mean, if that's an off-road mode, call it an off-road mode. Boom. Call it trail mode. Boom. This isn't rocket science. Okay, car design these days might look like rocket science because this cabin is pretty futuristic, but that shouldn't be. That should be easy. That should be the easy part. Once you get into the drive modes, which are under my modes here, it's a little bit more straightforward, but still a little bit weird. Here we get personal, sport, and efficient. So if I pick personal, balance settings, and personal ambiance, I don't see any options. I have no idea what that does as far as vehicle setup. I mean, what does that mode do? The other 2 modes, we get sport and efficient. Now, if I click on sport and I activate it, now I actually get a cog in the top right where I can then set up the sport modes. So sport, you can modify the driving dynamics and the steering as well as the drivetrain into various modes. Okay, great. Why can't I customize the personal setup? That's personal. And if I can set it up somewhere else in the software, that's fine. But why isn't it here with these other options? Like even efficient. I can go in and hit a cog and I can set that up with a couple options, climate control and visibility. Wait, what? Why is it climate control and visibility? If you are a BMW purist and you love the BMW brand and you live all things BMW, then yeah, you'll probably know what all of this means. But for a regular person, it's a bit confusing. We are going to come back to the Peninsula Proving Grounds here to test out the off-road capabilities of this little X2, but first, we're going to hit the street. Okay, let's punch it. So on paper, you would think that even the base 4-cylinder turbo would be quick enough, but it just doesn't feel very fast. And it's probably because this car weighs almost 4,000 pounds with the driver. That's pretty heavy for a compact crossover, although this generation is slightly bigger than the one that it does replace. So you're gonna get bigger, you're gonna get heavier, I guess. So driving the car is really rather comfortable. The seats are very supportive. I feel like these are proper sport buckets. I am glued into my seat. I'll have no lateral movement here, and I can adjust them, although I would expect some more adjustments at this price point. Basically, we just get up, down, back and forth. That's it. There's no even like lumbar control, which It's a little bit odd at this price point, but for me at least, the seat is very comfortable. But as always, seat comfort is paramount. So I would always sit in a vehicle before you buy one, because my back's not the same as your back. Like a lot of modern cars, the X2 here, it moves a lot of physical switchgear into the virtual display. And things like steering wheel heat and seat heat are all controlled up here, as well as standard climate controls. Clicking on the home button here, and it gives me a variety of different views. Just flick through different options. And then if I need more, on the left here, I do get some buttons that'll jump me immediately to certain layouts. One thing I find odd is that when I go to SiriusXM, it jumps to the For You, which appears to be like an automated collection of music that I have zero interest in. What band do I not ever want to hear again for the rest of my life if possible? It's U2. Sorry. Growing up in the 90s, I'm done. I am done with U2. But I can jump over to my collection and then XM favorites, and now I finally have the pre-programmed stations that I would actually listen to. Again, the physical design looks good. Even navigation, it makes sense for the most part, but then you run into these little things like, why do I have to click 4 times just to get to my SiriusXM favorites? There might be a shortcut here, but I don't know where it is. And then, of course, you have telephone and navigation. This does have navigation built in, and it's a pretty decent system. I can actually use voice commands. Navigate to the nearest cafe. And boop, there you go. It is picking out a number of cafes.
Could you repeat that, please?
But see, this isn't a big problem. The closest one. Stop talking. Fine. Anyway, when it was navigating, it finds the one that's closest to me as the crow flies, but we're out on a peninsula. There's a lot of stuff that you cannot drive to. And so it's trying to pick one for me on an island that I have no way of getting to. But I can click close to home. That's right up the street. Start guidance.
Drive south on
and there we go.
Road southwest for 1.2 miles.
So the suspension setup in this vehicle, it's a little bit on the stiff side. I am feeling a lot of the jostles and bumps along this highway, but I don't find it bad. Somebody else, if you're really sensitive and you want a super smooth ride, this isn't the right vehicle for you. This does have the adaptive suspension though, so it can actually get a little stiffer if I go up to my modes, pop into sport. Yes, I'm gonna reduce traction control apparently. Now, not only does the suspension stiffen up, it also makes the throttle way more aggressive. And I'm not talking a little bit. It is way more aggressive. It's also going to manage the dual clutch transmission to keep the revs higher, to keep me more in that 4-cylinder turbo power band. I mean, woo! This is kind of fun, actually. Oh, brakes. Oh yeah, those are good. I can also use paddles here to shift between the various gears, but there's also an extra bonus feature over here on the minus paddle, and that is boost. What does boost do? Yeah, it does exactly what you thought it would. I hold it down, it'll give me 10 seconds of maximum output. Boost! Still not very fast, but it is fun. Basically, driving this car just makes me kind of want more for the higher output M35i version of the vehicle. I mean, for me, it's kind of a no-brainer. Instead of going with all of the fancy extras, I wouldn't pay this much money for this vehicle. I would basically get a very little options added M35i instead, because I want the power. So driving this vehicle is actually surprisingly fun. The transmission and engine and the steering feel, they're not really very cohesive. It does feel a little vague, the steering feedback through the tires, not really feeling what the tires are doing. The throttle is pretty good though, it's pretty direct. Yeah, overall, it is still fun, but it's not as good as it can be. It's not like the better BMW driving experience. I would rate this kind of on the, on the BMW scale of woohoo or eh. This is kind of a couple steps above eh. But it is quick enough and it is tight enough to have some fun with. And if you're looking for a fairly loaded commuter and you just don't really have an opportunity to drive quick or to take advantage of the power, then yes, this is still an option. I mean, you still get this glorious interior. You still have this really nice looking gauge cluster. You do get decent fuel economy. It's rated at 33 miles to the gallon on the highway. And I've been getting, like right now, I'm averaging about 24.9, and this has been mostly kind of like town driving. So yeah, that's right in there. It's right what the EPA says. And then there's the Harman Kardon sound system, which actually is pretty good. You spend a lot of money to get it in this vehicle, but it does come with like this big panorama sunroof and a few other nice things. So I think that's probably a value add-on if you are going to be spending a lot of time in this vehicle, and especially if you don't have the fast motor, because if you don't have the fast motor, you might as well be at least listening to some good music. Thankfully, I have a little vehicle here in front of me, a Toyota 4Runner. I'm going to go ahead and try out this adaptive cruise control system. Now, this is, of course, an add-on, like everything is an add-on on this vehicle. And it is adaptive, and it will do auto steering in the middle of the lane, but it doesn't really do anything else very fancy. It says it has traffic jam assist. It's a lot of stuff that you can get on other vehicles for less money or for free. So BMW always charging lots of money for things that other people give you. But the system does work well, and I like that you can easily toggle between just distance control and the assisted driving. And assisted driving basically just adds the auto steering functionality. But it does work. It's fine. It's fine. We got our timer up. Let's see what this can do with a 0 to 60. I'm going to switch modes. I'm going to go to my mode Sport, so it's the most aggressive setting. And there's no launch control in this, so it's really just smashing down the throttle. 3, 2, 1, go. Oh, a little slow to start there. And 60. 6.18 seconds. Okay. BMW claims 6.2 seconds, so that's right in there. Let's say we can do a little bit better by playing with the pedals. So first off, I'm going to come to a complete stop. Just verify that there's no launch control on this. I don't think there is. Full brake, full gas. No, there isn't. Okay, so I'm going to try to get that throttle up a little bit. It's hold brake in and release. Yeah, I don't think that's going to do anything different, but let's see. And 60 at 6.62 seconds, it actually made it worse. Right. Well, let's see what this thing can do off-road. And by off-road, I mean a pretty easy trail. Though very few people will ever take a BMW X2 off-road, off-road does teach us some very important lessons about how the all-wheel drive system functions by removing traction from one wheel and seeing if it shifts to the opposite wheel. That is what makes one system more effective than another. And it's not just good for off-road, it also makes the system more effective in slippery conditions like snow and slippery wet rain days. So now it's time to put the X2 to the test and see how good this all-wheel drive system is. Even though we're about to go on a trail with this vehicle for science sake, there's a couple things we have to keep in mind. First off, these are Michelin Pilot Sport tires. They are summer tires. They're not designed for this kind of a surface. Also, these are 19-inch wheels and they don't have a ton of sidewall. The funny thing though is that you can actually option this vehicle with wheels as big as 21 inches. I mean, you're basically rolling on rubber bands at that point. But so thankfully, this is the smaller 19-inch package on this vehicle, or I might not be able to do this at all. Okay, oh, and last thing, this actually has a pretty decent amount of ground clearance. We're looking at 8.1 inches, which for the class, for a vehicle that has no pretense about being an off-roadable vehicle, that's actually really good. Right, so this trail, it's not that difficult. It's mostly just packed dirt, which is good. We have some side to side. We're gonna lift up some wheels, and we're gonna see how power is shifted out of the wheel that's spinning to the wheel that has grip. Very often a vehicle like this will use brake vectoring, where they'll use the brake to grab a wheel to stop the torque from leaking out of that wheel. I'm oversimplifying here, which then means that the other wheel then has to do the work. So let's look for that. You're gonna look for that stop and go with the wheel that is spinning. So I'm not going to activate drive off support yet because I want to see what this does without it first. So right about here, we're going to lift traction off the driver's side front and passenger rear. Okay, saying there's a traction issue, obviously. So I'm going to activate drive off support, and now we should see wheel braking kicking in. Yes, yes, that is an off-road mode. Wow. Okay, it's a pretty good one too, actually. Nice. Cool. Now, why can't they just call that trail mode or something like a normal car company can? Okay, we're gonna lift a wheel up here now, again on the outside passenger side, but we're kind of just using gravity to get through this. Then up and out. This is sometimes a little challenging here, but with the trail mode, yeah, it gets through it. Okay, we're going to continue on with drive off support turned on. I'm going to keep an eye out there for the tree so I don't bump it. But now we're going to dip down yet again. Another traction issue. By the way, no creaking at all in this body, which is great. Okay, so here we're going to teeter totter. We're going to have to basically lift ourselves up with just two wheels. Can we do it? Adding a little extra throttle, and you just keep the throttle in for these type of systems and they'll sort it out. Does a great job. Okay, and then we just drive out. Come on, get that torque. Yeah, it's got it. Nice. And now we just have to get out of here. There is a little bit of a bump on the way out. We'll see if we can get over this. Listen for any rubbing. None. Great. Now this vehicle also has hill descent control, but I don't have any hills here that can do hill descent control safely with this vehicle. And I got to admit, BMW asked me not to take this vehicle off-road. So I'm not going to do any more. I think that was plenty. So if you want to take this vehicle, drive on the highway a couple hours, go up a trail, hit a trailhead, get back in, drive back all day, this is actually a really nice vehicle. It's comfortable, it's relatively economical considering, you know, the amount of power that it puts out, and it's kind of fun to drive. Now, is it exceptional? No, I don't think so. But I think if you are looking for a luxury compact with a little bit more style than something like the X1 or even the GLB from Mercedes, this is a nice option. And it actually has a very usable back, which I was really surprised with. For Driving Sports TV, I'm Ryan Douthit. Thanks for watching. Would you get this or would you get something else? Post a comment below. Also, give us a like and share this video. We make them for you, and I hope you enjoy them.